Welcome, one and all, to another wonderful session of stepping through the gateway. We have a couple of things to go through, uh, including we have games 5 nights a week here, and on Mondays we have a 40K game based in the 5E system. We have mostly. There's a lot of homebrew in that one too. Tuesday nights we have our approved player game, which you get into by joining our Discord and applying on the uh, Patreon at the approved player level. Wednesday, you get to see this game, join in on this game. And Thursday and Friday, we have two games that take place within the same world, and they flip back and forth as to which one is playing on Thursday or Friday by the month. But with all of that out of the way, you can access both the Patreon and the Discord by clicking the links below and joining along. We're always happy to have new players. We have plenty of stuff that, even if you don't want to be in the recordings or the games that don't get recorded, we do have a forum base type thing that goes on the Discord as well. With all of that, I think that's everything covered. Uh, Everybody, let's take that wonderful deep breath after everything else that's happened and close our eyes, breathe deep, and descend back into that darkness that separates reality from fantasy. Let's slip down into that darkness and forget the absolute dumpster fire that the world is today, and go down into a different dumpster fire. Our focus swirls down and we yeah, we descend upon the library one more time. And we find that the research teams, the three different groups that have assembled there, are working away at their different stations. We still have our elephant in the room reading several books at the same time. We have our tall, gaunt figure that is reading through everything that a Draxon had dropped off. And we have Deshani working with this short artificer on a extended project that's going to unfortunately take time. But let's hurl our focus into that space as weird goat music comes up from the level below. Deshani,
How short are we on supplies at this point?
you've been working for a couple of hours. The very particular materials are running very low. Like you may be able to do one or two more before running out and having to go get more of them. nobody has seemingly run to the storage house where you guys left other stuff. They might have some of the things that you are looking for. They might also need to run out and salvage.
So, as I'm working, I've basically taken notes on this is what has to get done and this is what we need to get it done. And as I go and working through all of that, I'm going to be kind of doing like an inventory type thing of this is the stuff that we're okay for now. This is the stuff that we're definitely going to need immediately. Stuff that we're sure on that we need soon.
You end up coming up with 3 lists. One with what you have plenty of, one that you are definitely wanting, and one list of things that you are either almost out of or already out of.
Mhm.
On that, there is uh, high enough quality glassware that it can be actually enchanted without shattering. There is a type of there's a type of cotton plant that is needed to help maintain what is needed, the consistency in the glassware after the treatment has been taken. These two things you are very low on. There's still the orbs that you brought that you could still use. It's just production of more of them, or the process of increasing them is going to take more time and more materials.
Do we have any kind of anything written of what was in the supplies we brought that I can go through?
I believe you guys had uh traded up a bunch of food, water, and medical supplies.
Okay. I'm going to click over at the artificer and Jackson and say, I think I'm gonna have to go supply hunting really soon. I don't think this can wait.
Jackson's not there.
Not a Jackson, Ari.
The the small gnome, he has the heads or the noise canceling, but he has one ear out right now because he's working with you, and he finishes a very particular etch in the glass, and then pulls the headset up, pulls the welder's mask up, and places the project down. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. We are running out of materials, aren't we?
Some
While
things
you,
are pretty low.
while you are looking, I'll continue doing the enhancement etchings and hope the enchantment spread further. And just as he says that, he then kind of, you hear a gurgle, and maybe I'll take about half an hour, eat something.
She
And
is gonna gauge out his um feelings and just make sure that he's still in a place where that's all he needs.
he is at that level of hyper focus that it is of no real surprise that he has forgotten to eat or sleep. He's actually, go ahead and give me an insight roll.
Okay. At 20.
Woot!
Nice.
First or
Then,
second roll of the night.
then go ahead and give me a D100 roll, please.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
75.
I just rolled my super heavy dice. I watched all my other dice bounce in effect.
So you read deep enough to realize this. He probably hasn't like slept in 2 days. He hasn't eaten anything in probably about as long, and the only liquids that he seems to have been ingesting have been in small vials from a rack that's just off to the side of him. Modern terminology, he's been shooting 5-hour energies every 3 hours for
Yep.
2 days.
I got it. All right. I am going to let me just read something real quick.
You know, love new abilities
Yep.
and finally getting to use them.
Yep. I just got to get down far enough where I can read it.
Oh, I need to check this. Whoa.
I am going to use emotional presence. And I'm going to kind of impart some calm on him. And then I'll turn and say, you know, it might take a minute to get the things that we need to continue on what we're currently working on. Maybe you fill your belly, get some hydrating liquids in you, and take a power nap until I get back.
Yeah, that's.
Wisdom save.
I could use some rest. Um,
Probably a little bit more than some.
Please wake me when you come back down.
She'll just nod. Very serene look.
As he hops down off the stool that is taller than he is and toddles his way over to the spiral staircase and goes up to the next floor. About 30 seconds later, you hear, like, effectively the clatter of cookware.
Okay. And then once I am confident that he's going to actually go do the things that he physically needs to do, then I will start gathering my things and my list.
Did do that.
Before you do,
Mm-hmm.
please give me an Arcana and a Religion check.
Okay. Skills. Is that an 18 or a 16? 18. So that is 23 on Arcana. Well, that's a 7 on Religion.
Ironically, you brought both to their to the same level.
Ew.
So, that said, where are you planning on heading first?
Um, what would be the closer spot to search for some of the supplies that we need?
You could search around here. You could search the warehouse where you dropped everything else off. You could check the rest of this ward. You could leave this ward and head somewhere else.
I think I'll start at the warehouse because I know there are some supplies there that I can search through.
Okay. About 10 minutes of stairs and stairs and stairs and getting out to the warehouse. Similar to the last time you were here, those individuals are still rushing around making sure things are placed where they need to be and staged for being moved out. There is currently a small cart, a two-wheel cart, that has been being loaded with a single full crate. There is a very large bipedal. It kind of looks like a chicken. If chickens had 3 heads and were about the size of, like, an ostrich. That is currently being loaded up. There's one uh, surly looking dwarf that is sitting in the seat on that cart, and there are 2 people just putting the last bits onto the back of the cart itself.
All right. Can I tell who's kind of in charge of the operation?
The one that you guys had talked to earlier seems to be the most aware of what's going on and who to talk to and where to go. The thing is, you don't see them out here right now. They're not in that group of three. You could give me a perception check to see if you can spot them.
Okay.
Oh,
19.
Around the side of the main winter house, there's a small table with several chairs around it. You spot the same one that you had talked to before, sitting over a bowl that is slightly steaming, and they are just like hunched over it and spooning into their very hungry mouth.
All right. I will make my way over and
Give away.
sit down by him and say, I hate to interrupt you, but unfortunately, I've got some very time sensitive plans that I need to take care of, and I was hoping you could help me.
He kind of uncurls himself from over the bowl, ta- goes, takes one big sip from the side of the bowl, and then puts it down and dabs the excess away with a piece of bread before popping it into his mouth. Gives it a good chewing, and then as that goes down, goes, yeah, what you looking for?
I'm gonna pull out the list of the supplies broken out by need and say, we've got something that we think might help the situation, but
Mm,
in order to make the items that we need to make to carry out the plan that we're trying to set in motion, I have items needed, and we're running low on these supplies in order to create what we need to create for our plan. Do you think any of these items can be found here?
okay. Um, um, I think we've got. I think we've got some bottles of booze that we could empty out, hand those over. We can probably get you at least some. We might actually have idiots over in 50 haven't asked for any of this cotton. They're extra silks. We might actually have storage of that.
Excellent.
These other herbs on your second list, we just sent out maybe an hour ago. You'd have to make a trip over 60.
All right. Tore me over table. Would the booze bottles work for what we need?
They're thick enough and they're sturdy enough, and there are. I'll put it to you this way: most people want their booze able to survive a trip across a bumpy road. And plastic hasn't been invented here, so they don't have cheap bottles.
Okay.
They'll mean they'll need cleaning, but it'll do.
Okay. Well, I'll take what you can give me for now. That'll at least get part of our list done, and I guess we'll have to take a trip over to the 60th.
I can. Where do you need this? Up at the
The library?
Okay. I can get that stuff over there within the hour. Where
Excellent.
I can either send you with one of the runners so that you're not going alone to the 60th. We don't have a straight path to anywhere other than the cursory roads. M- Might take you a couple hours. It is one of the closer wards. It's just
Yeah.
it's
Um,
by road, not by bus.
I just need to get word over to, well, one person that's still at the library to let them know where I'm going to be. But yeah, that'll work.
If you need to, go ahead, run back, come back within half an hour. We'll have them loaded up and out. We can set up a run with you.
Sounds good. Thank you. I'll let you back to your meal. I'm sure it's much needed.
Yeah. It's been a couple of days since a hot meal has been in me.
I'm sorry I had to interrupt it.
You're doing you came here with plenty of supplies and goodwill. I'm not complaining.
Well, hopefully there'll be more than that once I get these supplies.
You get going. Come back in about half an hour. We'll be ready for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will run back just basically to let Ari know that I'm gonna take a trip to see if I can collect more supplies in another ward, and I'll be back in, a few
When
hours.
you had come up, you had seen that the gnome had set up a little makeshift kitchen and had been making something to eat. When you come back down from the top, you pass by. That has been all broken down. He is passed out on a cot that he is also reconstructed there.
She's gonna gauge out his emotions one more time just to
Out like a
see
light.
where. Okay, good.
There's also that small, uh, the pony centaur
Mm-hmm.
was off in a different spot, just a bunch of blankets on the floor. They are just also passed the fuck out.
And Ari?
When you go down to the next floor down, Ari has moved on to a new set of books, but still doing his same thing.
I'll interrupt just to let him know what's going on and that I'm gonna have to hit another ward. I should be back in a few hours.
He seems worried because the group shouldn't split up that much, especially not on your own. That was, he figured, yes, keep the smart people here where we can do the research and do the most good. Let the people that do most of the combat go out and do the fighting. Going and getting supplies seems strange in this moment for him. He
Yeah.
seems concerned, but he's not going to stop you.
I don't think that we have any other choice at this point. We don't know where the others are. We can't get our musical friend out from where he is. And we need these supplies, or we're not going to be able to move forward on what we're doing.
He bows to the logic behind it, but you know how he's been. He wants everybody to get along.
Yep.
Except for Lightfoot. He doesn't care if he gets along with Lightfoot.
Everybody else gets along. He gets a short.
Hmm. Literally.
So, you head back. And indeed, when you get there, the cart with the three-headed giant chicken is gone. There is in the almost exact same place, there is a very large metallic skinned heavy squat looking creature with a sharp face, beady eyes, three-toed clawed feet, and there is a it kind of appears to be a chariot attached to its back that has wheels going out at 6 different points, going up and out, straight out to the sides, and down and out, so that it has almost a safety roll cage set up. There is a very mousy looking red-headed woman sitting in not sitting standing in this chariot, and she is just kind of reaffixing where the reins are. And if you want, go ahead, give me. I've got different possible DCs, either an Arcana or a Nature. Go ahead and tell me which one you're choosing.
We're going to go with Arcana. 18.
You've heard stories of land sharks being threats and dangers. You've never heard of them being tamed. Not only does this very large beast seem to be calm, it doesn't seem to be threatened by your presence or anything else around it.
Still going to give it a little bit of base.
You take notice that the bars are double set, so it's a higher and a lower pair of bars each on either side of the body to help set the ring that's around the bullet's neck. And good, you do speak the language. um, in Sylvan, the woman speaks. So you're gonna have to be a little dodgy about the rocks, but we will get there faster.
Fast is good. I'm okay with fast.
And unless we run into a bus, we'll be fine. If we run into a bus, I'm going to have to calm this one down. But
I'm assuming you're good at doing that?
it can take a minute. But otherwise, yeah, I'm good.
Alrighty. How long do you think the trip will be?
From here to 60?
Hmm.
How fast do you need it to be? Because I've got two ways of going about this.
Let's say fast but not stupid.
Normal fast, and not I have to worry about his hunger. Good. It'll take about hour and a half to get there, hour and a half to get back. Then I'm going to need to feed him when we get there. So maybe another 20 minutes.
Okay. Are you good to go now?
I just need to get one parcel, and then I will be good to go. Be right back.
Is he gonna be good to go?
Now that everything's fastened, yeah, he'll be fine. And
Alright.
she turns and he not quite skips, but quickly and lightly moves into the warehouse and comes back with a satchel with something that makes the satchel kind of look squared instead of uh like a pocket.
I'm gonna still
And
gauge out the bullet's state.
okay. Go ahead
I
and
want to
give
make
me
sure that
an
this is actually like he's calm, he's good. We're alright.
you choose between insight or animal handling. They have different DCs and different information.
Can I do both?
Mm, you can.
Okay. I'll do animal handling first. So that's an 18 on the animal handling. you want me to do them at the same time or?
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
give you the full information
Oh,
from the two.
oh, 28.
Very nice. So, it is calm. It looks like it's been rested. It doesn't look rearing to go, but it looks like it is set to do a job.
Okay.
It is, by all practical purposes, it might be a magical beast, but it's still a beast. It's driven by the same normal things. This one's been domesticated. Most domesticated animals have less of a worry about, I need to go hunt food or gather food because the food will be given to me. That's one thing that helps keep their mood in check.
Okay.
And as she had put it, when when he has finished a job, he gets fed. So he is in general spirits because he knows that, oh, I'm about to do some work and then I get to eat. I'm not tired. My needs are being met. He's not aggressive. He's also not excessively passive. He's just,
Doing what he's gotta do to eat.
yeah,
Okay.
he's a farmer on a Thursday. It's do what you do.
So I am going to relax about a notch, but still be a little wary.
Girl comes back. She steps up onto the uh onto the chariot. There's space beside her for you to stand. And as you step up to the place, she turns and pulls a rounded bar so that you have something to lean back on should anything happen and you don't just get knocked off the back.
Okay.
Um, Past that, it is only a solid frame from about your hip down. Above that is the poles and the the effective cage of this is all open space. So you are, as she said, you're going to have to worry about rocks that are falling out of your way, out of the way.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm good to go. You're good to go. He's good to go. Good.
Good.
She pulls the reins and then lets them out a little bit, and you start moving. Slow trot, fast trot, full run. You turn out of this space and go down the road, and as you get to the gate opens quickly for this creature to get through. The gate doesn't roll completely out of the way. He gets into the gap and it starts rolling back. He then turns, makes a hard right, and there is a moment where you are heading very fast. Not Not beer and fast, but very fast. At a wall.
I'm gonna see if she's at all worried.
She is not.
I will watch cautiously, but follow her lead.
You get to the point where the bullet is 10 feet from the wall, and she is still like holding on uh to the reins, but she just crouches just slightly,
I will follow her lead.
and there is a thunderous crash, and then there is just tunnel that is about. Actually, give me a perception check.
Okay. $22.
And give me the D100 roll, because I've asked you for a thing earlier and I forgot to ask for the new one.
Okay. Double zero is just zero, right?
Is it 00 and 0?
Double zero and a 7. So it's 7.
That is 7. Yeah.
Okay.
So you notice that this space, this tunnel, that it is burrowing at a ridiculous speed, about 30 feet behind you, closes in, collapsing again behind it. You are, for an hour and a half, in a tube that the bullet is digging and burrowing at one end, and 50 feet from its nose is closing back off behind you. There is no extra light here. There is just a lot of sound, a lot of movement, and a very a oddly calm woman standing to your left.
Gonna kind of look her over and do this a lot, do you?
Part of the job. I am a runner.
Did you ever crash into anything?
Uh, Buses and other runners.
Oh, okay. Now I'm just gonna really keep an eye out for buses and other runners.
Kind of difficult for most folk to be able to keep an eye out for anything underground. Mm, It's true. You've got like a 15-foot tube of 15-foot diameter tube that is 50 feet long, yeah, that is just being opened and closed at the same rate as you are going. This goes for, as previously stated, an hour and a half in loud, dark, and occasionally a rock will pelt you. Not enough to do damage, but like you feel you've stood behind a truck that took off a little too fast on a gravel road.
Yep.
that level of pelting. Not enough to hurt you severely, but enough to notice, enough to really take in the entire situation that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And as time wears through and you're like you're about to start that thought at the back of your head that children always say when they're in the back seat of a car of, are we there yet? How long have we been moving? Suddenly there is an opening at the front. It is no longer a tube. It is now a the the bullet has broken through to another space, and the the space behind you is still caving in at the same pace. You find that you are on solid ground again in one of those roads, the massive ones, and you go to look back, and the wall kind of caves back in where you exited. And you are still going at this healthy clip, and the woman pulls the reins, and you make a hard right again. Go for about 5 extra minutes in this straight line on the tunnel, and you see the gates ahead of you that are already starting to roll open as the bullet is moving. And it takes that hard left into the space between the door or between the gate that is rolling open. And by the time you have cleared it, it is already starting to roll back into place. The bullet starts to slow down to a pace that you are more used to being a horse trotting. And this place is lightly populated. You see torches at each of the street corners. You take notice of gold painted fringes on the crests at the roofs. Most of the windows are the my brain stopped working on that word. Shutters. The shutters are open, and there are people kind of just spending time in those in the homes in the other buildings. There's very few people on the street, but there is a populace here. There's no light from above, but with the small bits of torchlight, your dark vision, and the vibrant paint, you can see that with the golden trims and the vividly painted blues and reds and yellows, that this district is still alive. There doesn't seem to be something like a farming unit here. There isn't a mining unit here. There isn't storage uh, or big government or any. This looks like it was set up as a residency district only. Like this ward was just meant for people to live in, maybe a couple of places to eat. Nothing really else. Except for the uh, central building that usually for most of the wards has been HQs or storage units. You pass by what looks like the same bus station that you've seen in most of the other places that you've been to in here. And the bullet slows to a very soft walk, a pace that you could keep up with. And finally comes to a stop right outside of that one building that has been HQ in all of the fronts that you have been at. It settles down and just stops about 30 feet from the doors there.
I'm gonna turn to the woman the runner, and do you know if I'll need to speak to anyone here about the supplies that I need, or would I need to speak to somewhere else? To someone somewhere else? Do you know?
They'll know if you need to talk to somebody else or if they just have them inside.
I'll nod and thank you. Will you wait for me here?
Yeah. As she pulls this cube that's just shy of being as wide as her shoulders. And it is grainy and metallic looking. And she walks around to the front and just puts it down on the ground in front of the bullet, who at first just starts licking it.
I'm assuming you're going to be letting him eat for a bit.
He'll probably be done with it in 5-10 minutes.
I'll be quick, and then I'll run inside, try and find someone to speak to inside.
You go inside. It's not the same madhouse that you've seen at the other ones. There's maybe 6 people moving at a regular hurried pace, not running. And there's one person, not standing, but sitting in a round desk.
I will head
Are-
directly to that person.
that person is almost a cartoon character. They're very short on the top of a stool with very long limbs, like gangly long limbs, and most of their features are exaggerated. Regular, like bipedal form, but imagine if your torso was half the height and your arms were almost the same length and your legs were almost the same length and everything was still thinner and the ears, the eyes, the nose, the angle of the chin, all of that was just sharper, larger, rounder. And this creature has only, instead of 4 fingers, 3 and a thumb. And they are stamping paperwork and writing on paperwork as you come into view. And not a natural blue, but like a painted blue. Set of eyes trace from the paperwork to you.
Can I sense that motion before I approach?
Uh, Go ahead and give me that roll.
$21.
Thankful that he's not in one of the districts that's overrun.
Okay.
Still scared a little shitless of the entire situation, but happy to be in a residential that isn't currently accepting any refugees. Slightly confused to see a new face. And, otherwise content with being able to sit behind a desk instead of having to do something else currently.
Okay, so Serene, walk over and pull out my list. And is there any way you could help me?
That depends. What you need.
I have a short list of supplies that I somewhat urgently need, and um, if I can get this list fulfilled, it would come in really handy in fighting the nastiness that's out there. Would you happen to have any of these items? And I'd kind of put the list down in front of him.
Got some of them. Maybe most of them. Why? Why would you be asking for this type of stuff now?
Well, we've come up with a plan that could fight this, and I need to create the items we'd use as weapons to take out large masses at once. But in order to create the numbers that we would need, I need those supplies.
You're looking for organic materials to make weapons of mass destruction in the middle of a apocalyptic event.
Essentially.
Who are you even working with?
50th Ward.
He
49th.
stops.
Oh, 49th Ward, sorry.
He stops in the middle of, like, he was about to give another comeback in his 49th Ward. Okay, they are actually doing something. Do you have a copy of that list, or or can I take it real quick?
I don't have a copy, but I can make you a copy.
If you would.
I will jot down a copy for him.
After a minute, he takes the copied list and you see him light a candle off to his side and hold it up. And one of the people that was quickly moving stops what they're doing, runs over, and they have a hushed conversation back and forth. And that person runs out holding the list, takes, as they get out the door, they take a right and head down out of view. We just sent some of that over to uh, the tavern down the road. If you need it, it's more important than them spicing soup.
Significantly so.
So he's running to get most of that back. Jots something down and just puts it off to the side. And then, so, could be back in 5-10 minutes. Depends how long it takes him to get them to give him back the crate. So, quick question.
Yes?
Is this going to be a credit to 49, or is this going to be a trade and or purchase?
Let's say it's a credit.
Takes the piece of paper and he scribbles a couple more things down and puts it back off to the side. And next couple of minutes go by, him not really questioning too much past that. And he takes a look at one of the other things and goes, "You already have the cotton? Because we have some too."
If you have some, I'll take it. I don't want to have to come out for more supplies, given how
Jots things
many
down on
we'll
that
have to
same piece
do.
of paper. He jots things down on the same piece of paper and then he waves down one of the other people and he calls out what is needed. They go down to a particular set of shelves and pull out a couple of crates and walk over. And the crates are slightly longer than a egg crate, but about half as tall. And they put two of these down on the desk and they head back. About this time, the other person comes back in carrying another crate that is just under their arm, and then a bag, and walks over, puts the crate down first, and then the bag on top. They yammer back and forth for a quick moment, and then they head back to what they're doing. So they already broke up the crate for the or for some of it. So we got them to put it back in a bag. These are all the herbs that were on your list that we have. That's all the cotton. We don't have any good glass that's not being used.
All right. I've got some of that already happening, so that should be okay.
Uh, Polishing rags you can find just about anywhere. Just get somebody to loan you a shirt.
Hmm.
But that looks like everything. Need anything else?
No, just whatever's on this list is our priority at this time. Thank you.
Here's hoping it does some good.
If it
And
does, you might see more of me.
as you turn and leave, you come out, and the bullet has finished the cube and is kind of licking the ground where the cube was. The woman is currently just kind of doing that thing that you normally do with an animal after they've eaten, if you're very kind to them, and just kind of patting its enormous forehead. Oh, got everything you need? Or are you making another trip?
Can I kind of smile slightly? That's still a little disconcerting. Um, I'm gonna look at my list. I've pretty much gotten what I need, right? At this point, between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just waiting on his person to come back with the items, and then we can head out.
Oh, the person who had left had come back, and that's where
Okay.
that
Okay.
the crate and the bag came from.
Okay. Then yeah, we're good.
Okay then. Um, a way of sticking them somewhere, because that's quite a stack, and I don't feel like having you or I just.
I'm gonna pop that stuff in the bag of holding.
She kind of looks at you, and fucking magic every time. Okay. He's just about ready. If you're ready, then we can get going.
Ready when you are.
You climb in, she climbs in, she rolls the bar back into place. He stands and leans back against the bar and then pulls the lead, loosens it a little bit, and starts steering him so that you head back out. Once again, as he's picking up speed, the gate opens just in time for him to scoot past, and it rolls back shut. Similar to your way up here, you about 5 minutes of moving through the actual road and then straight into a wall. Then there's about hour and a half of that 50-foot tube, and you reach you come back out of the wall and the space closes up behind again. The bullet veers right, gets back onto the road itself, goes for another 2 or 3 minutes before you see the gate starting to roll open. And once again, jets through just in time as the door opens just wide enough, and then the gate closes. And 2, 3 minutes, you're back up at the up at the main warehouse there, and the woman reopens the rolling bar and hope everything. I hope you got everything you need, and we don't have to make more runs like this. But if you do, here to help.
I must say, this was unique and impressive all at the same time. And it was nice to be able to go with you and feel safe knowing you obviously know what you're doing.
Been doing it a lot longer than we've had the apocalypse, so better. But I'm better know what I'm doing by now. And she heads off into the warehouse real quick and comes back about a minute later, puts another one of those cubes right in front of the bullet, who lazily starts licking the cube.
Just kind of shake my head and don't see that every day. And then start heading back to the library.
Throw a little potion at it.
You get back, and it's been a few hours. Once you come back in, the first off, both of the slumbering tenants up in the first floor at the top are still asleep.
I
When
will
you get
wake up
back,
the artificer as I said I would.
somehow his hair is in less of a mess than it was when you first met him. Uh, Mm. Thank you. How long was I down?
Couple of hours. Probably could have used more, but I did promise.
You seemed count off on his fingers. You should be able to do at least 30 more hours without another good nap. If I keep drinking, we'll be good. And he follows you down to the next level. The two figures that you left here are still at work doing what they were doing when you left.
Does anybody sleep here?
Well, I mean, your elephantine friend slept the last time you slept. And, well, the
She
other
doesn't sleep.
guy is, well, I mean, the last time you guys all rested, which was less than, actually, about 12 hours ago. But you get to that point where you take or you've seen the visage of what is under that robe over there, and I mean, not many undead creatures really rest. You get back to the space and you start pulling out the crates of these things that are needed, and there is a large crate that is big enough that Ari could fit in it. Is just on the floor about 5 feet away from the station. And you feel like you have enough materials for a while. Now it's just going to take the time and the expertise.
Start emptying out the bag of holding, emptying out the crates, getting things back into the organized kind of assembly line condition that we had set up.
I'm going to ask you for 3 rolls before we
Yep.
start pulling away from this. So,
Yep.
can you give me that Arcana? Can you give me that Religion? And can you give me that D100 roll that I did not
Yep.
ask to get?
So Arcana is 24. Religion, not so great again, not 11. And the D100, 85.
Late enough, I'm not doing math. Okay. Hmm. Okay. So, with that, our attention is going to swivel out of the library, leaving you to continue to work on the project that you've put about 4 or 5 hours into, and then went on effectively a dangerous shopping trip for another 3 hours. So, with that, we're going to leave that space, hurl through the darkness, and descend into the space that we left the others at. Just inside that carriage that you guys use, you are moving at pace, heading back towards the front HQ. I leave it to you.
We packed up all the loot, right?
Yeah, all the stuff that was taken, all the stuff that we could find, all came with us.
Last time we ended with you guys climbing into the thing and starting your movement.
Yep.
How
Just
far off from the main HQ are we? Or are we pulling up on it, like front side?
You've got maybe 2 minutes between at the pace that Biren ends up moving you guys.
Okay. Uh. He'll look inside and relay that to Biren, and that way we can come to a stop where we need to without plowing over any pedestrians out front. That
Yeah, to make
oversized
sure
crowd still out there, or is it kind of dwindled?
The same people are around, they're just not right up against the entry. They are broken up into smaller groups, complaining amongst themselves. By the time you pull up, they've given way to the street so that uh, you can actually stop.
Okay. As we come to a stop, Draxon will climb down off the top of the cart, because it was, if I'm not mistaken, with the other people we have with us, it was kind of packed on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna climb on the outside, and
In
then open up.
fact, you had Horby and your grandfather up on that seat with you, which is a seat that's only meant for 2 people.
Yeah. He's gonna climb down, open the door, look to all of the quote unquote prisoners. You all hang tight for a moment. He looks to Biren. You come with me for a minute.
Okay. Baron will climb out of the wheel and head for the door.
Draxon will kind of step off to the backside of the cart as before he moves, kind of giving Guy a look of, we won't be but a moment. And he'll step off to the backside of the cart.
Guy's gonna glare at the kids that are in there and start sharpening his axes and not saying anything.
Wow.
My name is Guy Curry, and tonight, welcome to Scare Tactics.
Is your kid wayward? Send him my way. I'll get him back on the path, or at least scare the shit out of his ass.
So I assume Biren falls to the back of the cart.
Yeah.
Okay. As he gets there, he stops and turns around to face Biren, and takes a moment, gives him a look. How are you holding up?
I'm okay.
Given everything we just witnessed and stuff, you're okay.
Remember, you stopped him from seeing or hearing about what you had to
He didn't
directly
see
deal
what
with.
I dealt with, but he also that was the other thing was a big situation that was
Fair.
close to home for him.
Making sure.
As okay as I can be.
That's a fair assessment. Let me pose a question and see your insight from somebody who has been in similar circumstances as these kids. What do you think the best course of action for them to be, given this opportunity where they're not necessarily, found by someone who would rather put them to death than deal with the learning that are teaching them the lesson that is needed?
You think they'll kill him if we turn him over?
No, I'm saying they aren't going. That isn't. I don't believe that is what is going to happen. Now, in any one of our worlds, if this sort of thing happens, and depending on who found them, that's a likely possibility. I'm sure you've seen your fair share of that type of scenario. I don't believe that's what we're going to have here. I'm asking you what you think best for these kids. What do you think what can you impart on them given what you've seen and dealt with? Because you are the closest one to their situation and probably their age group. I want them to learn something from this so they're not making the same mistakes, but I also want to deal with the situation that caused them to feel like they needed to make these choices. And for that to happen properly, I feel like I need your insight.
I don't know. I mean, I mean, I know that if we let them go, they would just go back to doing that same thing.
Correct.
If I was still back on my world, I would be in that situation still too. Uh,
But you never had, from what I've gathered from the little bits that you've explained, it was you and the group of kids that you looked after, and that was all you guys knew, correct?
yes.
You guys didn't have anybody like us stepping in, putting a stop to what you were doing, but also having the opportunity to be a guiding hand for you all. We have that opportunity with this group. You have that opportunity with this group.
You motherfucker.
So really what I'm asking is there something you wish to impart on them that you wish somebody could have imparted on you and your group back home? Because here, while what they're doing is surviving the situations surrounding them actually surviving is a lot more dangerous, I feel, than what even you and your group dealt with. Sure, you didn't
No,
have zombies running around eating.
the worst thing we had to worry about was the guards or the person that we took stuff from if they found out it was us.
Right. I feel like there's an opportunity for change, and I feel like you are going to be a big
No,
factor in that.
nope, nope. I'm going hands off on this one now. You you see the look on Baron's face as one you recognize.
Yeah.
He's about to run off on you if you keep that up. And this
Kidding.
time he'll just run up on the 6-story building and you won't be able to get to him.
He takes
I
a
mean,
moment.
you would, but well, no. Technically, you would have to swap places with me, so I would just be on the ground.
um, he takes a moment, kind of judges the look, gives a slow nod. Places a hand on Biren's shoulder. Not forcing anything on you. I just thought that you'd want the opportunity. We'll make sure that nothing happens to them, and as long as everything can be sorted out, everything should be okay. Sure, they've got people in the ward who are looking for them. Hopefully, at least.
I doubt it.
Well, it's been kind of crazy since we've got here, so. Anyway, let's get back to the others. I didn't mean to startle you more than you already were.
I mean, over the table, you've seen beer in a completely different beer in here. After y'all had the conversation with him about running off, he has tried to make sure he didn't run off into some crazy situation. But no, nope.
You give him a light pat, kind of another slow nod, but this one's more of an understanding nod. And then he'll head back around to the front of the cart where the door, or the side of the cart where the doors are at. And look at Guy on the inside. I'll go if you want to get these ones off out and settled up. I'll go speak to those in charge.
Guy's gonna turn to you and kind of smile. I did a thing I think will be good. And as you can see, one of the kids is now completely bald headed, hair's laying on the floor, and he uses axe to shave his head.
God damn it, God. Oh,
That was why I was laughing in the background while you were having that serious conversation.
Jackson just shakes his head and smiles. He'll grab the bags of stuff that they not the stuff that Biren and Shoto had found and put in their personal inventories, but the stuff that we had accumulated from what was in the warehouse. And he'll grab those and look to Iroh and you want to tag along?
I think you've got most of this in hand, but it's been warming my heart to see that the next generation is able to take things on like this. I'll watch.
Fair enough. And he'll make his way over to the inside of the central building and approach the individual. At least look to see if the individual who had sent them out is still there pointing orders.
He is.
Guy's gonna escort the kid out, and as the bald head kid gets out, he's gonna smack in the back of the head like a cut.
Jackson will approach.
He hasn't actually pointed in the time that you rounded the corner and walked into the space. The guards that had been blocking the way are now seated on the sides on the inside, just either side of the doorway. They are resting, and the runners have slowed down their movement slightly. He goes from watching one to turning his attention to the door where you're walking through. What did you learn? What did you have you finished?
On that note, what you sent us after is dealt with.
Hmm.
And that area has been purged. We did come across some stragglers, but not of the undead variety. There was a group of younger ones who take it upon themselves to relieve homes of goods to survive and stay out of the threat range of the undead that were wandering the streets. Um, Not exactly sure how long they had been at it, but we brought them with us. They're outside. Kind of get the idea that they didn't really feel like anybody was looking out for their best interests, which is why they turned to doing what they were doing. He'll take the satchels of stuff that they had acquired from the warehouse and set them before the individual.
Still listening to you, he reaches down, picks one up, and goes between flipping through the contents of the satchel and looking at you, showing he's paying attention, and
Given
goes for the other one.
given everything your ward has experienced the last couple days, uh, unnecessary deaths are unneeded. So we figured they would be better off here with the rest of you rather than trying to fend for themselves in case an accident happened. There were a couple undead in the vicinity of them. Seems like if any of them managed to get infected, they quarantined them off from the others, blocked them in. Um, those have been dealt with. The ones outside have been cleansed. But
Puts down the satchels that, after looking through them and listening to you, and he goes from looking to from you. He looks from you to the people that you left with and came back with, to the youths that you brought with you. There is a moment where there's a change in his face, just for a flash. You have a high enough passive perception that I can give you that. I would like you to give me an insight to see if you can figure out what it was.
okay, yeah. 21.
Two things: anger and remorse flash across his face for the same length of time it takes a candle to flicker. And back to the not quite stony face, he looks at them for a little bit longer and then looks back to you. Safety in numbers is how most of us are going to get through this. If we can get through this. Being separated, it's easier to get overwhelmed. There's couple of tactical problems with that, with what we're up against. But it's still a better survival technique for all of us than it is to be separated. We're in this board together. He points at one that's pacing past, and he does a swivel uh, with his pinky, and then points back at himself. A rather skinny half orc rushes up, and what can I do for you? You are going to go across the street, and you are going to check that that building is clean. Then you are going to find the key and bring it back here. Take 2 goats with you. And the half orc bolts, heads straight for the door, grabs 2 of the guards at the door, and heads directly across the street, ignoring the now pointed gaze of everybody out there. The the person in front of you looks back to you. There's going to be plenty of fingers pointed at them. But most of the things that these civilians were berating us about are now returned and able to be dealt with. If they can stop bitching for 20 minutes, it'll be worth it. We're not going to let them stay in that space alone, but they are going to, they'll be safe. And if we all see next week and this is even on the road to recovery, they'll pay a price. It's not going to be a heavy one. When you're cut off, you're cut off.
I think that's fair for what has been done. And if it all helps with your judging
One of
audience outside, um, necessarily to keep the peace, they don't need to know that things were taken, but rather sent to be acquired.
I'm of the same mind.
Okay. Make the kids pay for what they've done, but all the others need to know is that you heard their words and you acquired what they were asking about.
Those people are going to hear that you found these things. Those people are not going to hear about those children. And I am personally going to beat the ass of Velter.
Repeat that for me.
I'm going to beat the ass of Velter.
Kind of tilts his head. Who's that?
The oldest one of that gang.
Oh. Fair enough.
My son.
I was just about to say, someone's got a little boy in the.
Aha. Fair enough. Well,
One of the groups that I had sent out, I sent to an area where I knew he usually hung out. Was worried that that's one of the places that got hit.
well,
If he's been running this shit while I've been sending men to get killed, he is going to get an ass beating.
I'd say he gets off easy then. The ass beating sounds pretty good compared to the alternative of becoming one of those. Though, knowing that, I am glad we were able to get to them before they had secluded, found their way out from their.
You're borging out. Say again?
Why am I doing that? Hold on one sec.
That came through clear.
Uh, he goes. He tells him that the ass beating sounds like he's getting off easy, but it's better than the alternative. Um, he was happy that they got to them before the ones that they had secluded who had been infected managed to find their way out and got a hold of the rest of the group. They were quite the way that they did it was rudimentary, but for the sake of it and what they had to work with was kind of ingenious at the same time. Seems like they've seems like they dealt with the loss of two at least that I saw that they managed to seclude before the change completely took over. Those two have been put to rest, and the bloater that might have been the cause of all of it blew up at my back. But that's all been cleansed and taken care of.
I hate normal war. This is so much worse.
You know, my my family's made it a business of offering protection to those who pay for the service and helping where we can. So we've all seen some dark shit. We've seen some distasteful shit. Kind of like what comes to mind when I look and think about the 50th Ward. Um, but this is something I don't think I'd ever wish on even my worst enemies.
Ain't seen
But
nothing like it before.
and hopefully we see nothing like it ever again. But for what it's worth, we're here to help. I'm gonna put in that call for you all to the 49th. You guys need basic supplies. You guys need timber. I know you said that you were running scarce, very scarce on your supply of wood.
5 minutes ago.
Fair enough. I'll have until something can be brought by. This here is more important to deal with. Um, so we'll have our companion Horby stay nearby in case you guys need anything cleansed, since your reserves have been depleted, and I'll get that call out so they can get you guys restocked as soon as they can.
Sorely needed.
Did you by chance get me the list of stuff that you guys are extremely hurting for? That way I can relay proper information to them.
He hands you a folded cloth that, as you open, has in ink written a list of supplies.
Okay. Well, I think I'll leave you to the group out there, and I'll get this reported over. So at least that process can get started.
You see him put 2 fingers up and do a swirl in the air, and somebody else from the wall walks over, stands where he's at, and he walks.
Um,
See him walk out into the street and start talking to people.
okay. Draxon's gonna make his way back over to the group. Um, I'm gonna take a few minutes to send a message out to get these guys get the order put in for these guys' supplies that they need. Shouldn't be anything more than maybe 20 minutes, depending on how far the conversation goes. He'll look
Who are
to
you
Biren.
contacting?
I'm not doing it yet. I'm still talking to the group.
Okay.
He looks to Biren. Gives him a reassuring smile. Everything's been taken care of. Don't have anything to worry about. And he'll take a step off to the back of the. He'll step off to the side of the building, not into an alley or anything, just off to the side next to the door, and put in the and pull out the potion, pop the top, and take it. In regards to your earlier question, who am I contacting?
Mhm.
I'm going to contact the individual we spoke to when we delivered the goods to the 49th, the one who handled pretty much our entire interactions. That's the individual I contact.
Okay. And how do you put it?
This is probably something new to you. Don't freak out. This is a Draxon. We spoke earlier. I delivered all the supplies with my group. We are. One sec. We are currently in the 80th ward. It has been, for the most part, stabilized, but there is a list of supplies that they need in order to continue running. And he will list off everything on the piece of cloth that was given.
There's a pause. And the sound of a slurp. And then, I hope you don't mind that I continue to eat my soup while you talk.
I do
You're
apologize for interrupting you. You're the only individual I thought of at the moment to get direct contact with, so the process could get started.
I mean, you're not wrong. Your friend was here like 5 minutes ago, so it's not the first interruption of the meal. Um, fucking magic is weird, but yes, we can get all of that set. Uh, would be able to set that up, and get a cart running that way in a little over an hour. It'll take a little while to get there, though.
That's fine. Just so we can keep our eyes and our um, and everything. Do you happen to know approximately how long it would take the runner to get here?
Taking straight roads, it'll take about 5 hours. Hitting one of the warm buses, it'll take about an hour,
Okay.
hour and a half. Um,
Everything
I'd
I'm
rather
missing.
leave the. I'd rather not have to get charged in 50 for getting materials out if I can avoid it. So
That's
I'm gonna
completely
send this one 5 hours, and we'll be collecting requirements out that way.
okay. That's completely understandable. I will let them know, so that way they can kind of understand what and when to expect it.
So expect about 6 or 7 hours, depending upon if anything has gotten into the roads. They know to dodge anything that's just getting too slow, you know? At least until this is
Very
all cleaned up, we're not chancing shit.
agreed. Very well. I'll pass on the information. Thank you, and I do apologize for interrupting your meal.
Meal interrupting for this, I can deal with. Magic's just fucking weird, man.
Trust me, I'm still getting used to it myself. And with that, he'll cut the connection and head back over to the gentleman that he was speaking to earlier. Give him the estimated time that they can expect the delivery to be made.
When you walk over, he puts a finger up to the people that are talking to him at the moment, gets the information from you, and goes, "That's good to hear. By the time I'm finally done with everything else, we should actually have materials here. Thank you."
Mm-hmm.
He turns back and goes, "If you don't stop bitching about your tapestry."
Drax just kind of smirks and laughs a little bit as he walks off. Ugh, I do not envy that guy. All right. Have we been relieved of the youngsters at this point?
Yes, by the time you get back from your conversation and the other gentleman has worked away about halfway through the crowd, the other guy had come back with the guards and then taken the youngsters all over to that building.
Okay.
And we get all our ropes back?
Yes.
Alright.
And we can wrap it up right there, or we can run for just a little bit longer. I'm going to leave that choice up to you guys.
Um,
'Cause I know Guy has gotten approximately 3 lines tonight.
I was just going to put out there that given the lull that we're in at the moment and the not necessarily running our heads off trying to clear things, might be a good opportunity to rest up, maybe split, get rest where we can.
Anybody want to do things for
Go ahead, Beats.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm okay with us uh, breaking here.
Did we find out where we're going next?
Not yet.
Or are we going back to 49? What are we planning on doing?
Well,
Biren is asking a Jackson that.
at the moment, um, there's currently a shipment of supplies to this ward en route. I figure we could stick around, make sure that no other breaches happen or occur while they're waiting on the supplies that they need. Um, make sure that everything's settled, and then see if there are any other places that need our help, and just move on from there if everything here is okay to leave in their hands. I don't want to leave prematurely only to have to come back to this place to try to help it or lose it after all the work we've put in. But I know that at the same time there are other wards that could use our help. Potentially, we've only heard of 2 that we were heading to, and one of them was already closed off. So there's no. I feel like there's nothing really to salvage there. If it's already being closed off, there's no way in or out. But it's one of the reasons I suggested maybe those of us that need to rest up, so that way if we do get word that someone does need our help, we're not running into it spent. The situation like this, it's best to take rest where we can, because certain times we're going to need to push ourselves beyond normal means and go for longer than we would normally find comfortable.
Guy's gonna rub his hand across Fox's back. He could use a taco, and I could use a nap.
He can use a taco and I can use a nap. Famous last words. Oh, that lighter's dead. Fuck.
But that is a good place for us to bring this to a close. We're going to let our attention pull away from this conversation just before rest. And we're going to drift back up into that darkness. We're going to leave this fantasy behind. Drift into the lack of light that separates us from our fantasies from our reality, and take that last deep breath in our eyes. And I'm sorry to bring us back to reality, but I'm happy that we got to share this. I thank my players for being here and sharing in this story. Thank you all at home for watching. And once again, if you are interested, click the links below, join our Discord. We are always happy to help get you integrated. You just have to ask the questions. We'll be happy to get you into any of the games that we have running or inform you about new ones coming up. So, with that, everybody have a wonderful rest of your night. And come on, let's go tell a story.
And everybody.
Good night, everyone.